welcome to episode 58 of Crochet Moments. I'm Helen and I live in Leicester with my husband and two girls, Catherine and Emily. And this is my little place on YouTube where I like to talk about anything yarn related. I knit and I crochet. I do a little bit of cross stitch, which I know isn't yarn, but it's still crafty. I think I might show it today because I'm almost halfway down a page. So yeah, that's my little introduction. So little what have we all been up to for the last couple of weeks? So I have been incredibly busy at work as usual, and we've been, what did we do last weekend? We went to IKEA last weekend actually, and that was amusing. That was very fun, and we always spend more than we plan to when we go. A little bit like me at a yarn show. We needed a couple of bits for Catherine's room, so we're having a big sort out of Catherine's room, and it's been discovered she could do with a little bit more storage and another rug. So she has laminate flooring in her room, and during the winter it has been freezing in there, even with the heating on. It has been ice cold in there, and we think it's because the amount of laminate flooring that's exposed. So we got her another rug for her floor, and already that's made a massive difference. So yeah, so in relation to crafting, I've got a finished object, my first one of 2023, and I did cheat a little bit on this one because it's my out and about project, and on the 31st of January I had a day off. So I took my out and about project with me. I knit while I walked into town, I knit while I walked home from town, and when I realised how close I was to finishing, I thought, well, I can't go all the way through January and not have any finish at all. So I thought, I'm not going to work on Metamorphosis. I should have been working on that day. I did do a little bit of work on that one, but I didn't do a lot, and so I decided to get them finished, and here they are. So I love this yarn. I'll show you the label in a minute, but it's Pippin Yarns. This is my very first DK sock, and they are for Simon, and DK socks for Simon are definitely the way to go, because I did not have to knit huge numbers of rows to fit his ginormous foot. So obviously this is still a little bit big for my blocker, because this one is a 7 to 9 blocker. Actually, I've put it on the wrong way. I've got it on the wrong way. So this is my blocker. I got it from Bakewell in 2021. It was really cheap. It was only about £3 or £4. That's better. I did wonder. Yeah, so this is a 5 to 7, and Simon is a size 9 foot. That's much better. So I broadly followed the Crazy Sock Ladies free DK vanilla sock pattern. I used 3.5mm DPNs. They were Knit Pro Zings that I bought from Bakewell 2022, because I bought this and I was like, I came to Bakewell and I didn't take a project with me to work on from the way home, so I thought, well, I'm just going to cast on a pair of socks. So I cast these on. So this was a sock set, so it came with a contrast mini, and this was, excuse me, this was labelled as a one of a kind, which I at first misunderstood. I feel I did better sewing in my ends on this sock than I did on my first sock, because on my first sock I can see some of the areas where it's been weaved in on the right side, but as the likelihood of anybody seeing that part of the sock is very tiny. So but yeah, so DK socks. Fantastic. So I need to get cast on a pair of socks for Emily now, because I promised her a pair when I finished a pair for her daddy. So she has yet to choose which yarn she wants. So it's not that I have a shortage of yarn for her to choose from. I'm going to give her an option of my shop bought yarn first before I give her my hand dyed yarn to choose from, mainly because she's growing so quickly that by the time I finish them, she'll probably only have a couple of months worth of wear out of them. So I don't really want to use expensive yarn for her feet if I can get away with it. Luckily I've got lots of very pretty Emily style colours in my collection of it's like mass produced, not mass produced sounds like the wrong word. The branded yarns. So I've got some Stylecraft All Stars, I have some Drops Fable, I have some West Yorkshire Spinners, I have 2 skeins of the West Yorkshire Spinners. Can't remember the name of the colour now. The Christmas vintage one, the Vintage Christmas I think it was called, or the Christmas Lights. That was 2021's colourway. But failing that, I let her dip into my collection of expensive hand dyed yarns. So these didn't take actually that long. Bearing in mind, these I just worked on them when I'm out and about. These I always like to have a vanilla pair of socks for day trips. Maybe if I'm going shopping, if I'm walking on my own. It's nice to have something to do, so I listen to a podcast in my ear. So I like to listen to a lot of true crime podcasts, so I'll listen to that and then I can just knit as I go. Car journeys, if I'm not driving, obviously I'll make sure I have my knitting with me. If we're going anywhere that's going to involve sitting down for a little while we're waiting, so a cafe or a restaurant, I will have my knitting in my bag, and I will get my knitting out and do a few rows, even if it's just a couple of needles worth on my DPNs. I will do it. But my next pair of socks, I'm going to try, what have I done with them? My higher flyers that I bought when we were in Oxford. So I'm going to be using those for definite. I'm really keen to give those a try, and we shall see how I get on with them. So, works in progress. I don't actually have many to show today because it's been a very heavy knit period this last couple of weeks. So I have, for those of you who haven't been watching for a million years, it feels like that's how long I've been doing this, then just to explain, so I have an app on my phone that is like a decision wheel. So I have a wheel for my knit with all my knit whips on, a wheel with all my crochet whips on, and then I have a wheel for the number of days. From 1 to 7, so I will never work for more than a week on one project unless I'm on a deadline. So I spin that wheel. I have gone through most of 2023 in my diary that I got for Christmas. I got this from Simon's mum. So for example, this is this week's. So as you can see, this week has been mostly advent knitting and cross stitch. I've had 2 days on my cross stitch this week, and last week was almost, I had a day on my amigurumi, which I'm not going to show today because I don't think I made enough progress to make it worthwhile seeing. I had hoped I'd get him finished. I got one leg done. But yeah, so there's all my advent knitting. So that's my crafting for the last couple of weeks. So I do find this helps to have it written down. I don't know if it helps me for my podcast or just helps me keep a control of my projects, so I can keep an eye on what I'm working on, and just basically just keep a track. And I have at the front a finished object list, and I've put those socks on there already, because I'm very excited about. So that is how I organise what I'm working on and where, because I do have more whips than I'm comfortable with, if I'm 100% honest, but I do intend on getting them down. I say I'm not going to start anything new, but I did have a new start today, which I'll get to in a bit. So yes, I'm not going to start too many new things, especially not knitted ones, because I have a lot of knit whips compared to my crochet whips. So my newest start is a crochet whip, so it doesn't matter, does it? I can afford to add a whip for that, and I have a deadline for that one. So yeah, let's show you what I did do on my Metamorphosis wrap, which was not much at all. So this is living in my Emma ball bag, which I bought from the Crafty Bird, and I bought it from the Bakewell Wool Show, when was it? 2021. And my incomings just collapsed because I moved this bag. I love this bag. It's got all these lovely knitting ladies. Oh, there's a crocheting lady. And then I really like this lady here, who's very much like me, with a big armful of wool. I love it so much. Anyway, on to my project. This is from one of my Scheepjes yarn bookazines, the Macro Botanica one. Now this is really funny because a lot of people say that these are damaged or not finished properly, so they've not bound this bit, and that's part of the design, so you can sort of see this print down here. But there's been a lot of people sending theirs back thinking it's damaged. And it's not. So if you do have one of these, I think the colour one is the same. They're not damaged. That's a design element to the book, and it helps them open and stay open. And it does. Some of my other ones that are not like this, where's my project? They don't stay open terribly well, and I hate cracking the spine on these things. Right, where is it? Here it is. Metamorphosis wrap by Lynn Rowe. So I won't get the whole thing out. So I've done the front bit, and I've done one of the wings. And I am on the second wing. Get it out without making too much of a mess. And this is being made in Hey J hand dyed lace weight yarn, and it is a merino silk blend in the colourway blackcurrant. Now she doesn't dye anymore, unfortunately, so I'm glad I got the two skeins, because I only have this much left of this first skein, and that might do the wing, but it's not going to do all of the borders as well. So I will work at, so I'm about a third of the way, I think, on these. So I've been marking each of my increase rows, so that's helping me count a little better. Keep counts of where I am, because on the first wing I did get a little bit what's the word? The word has just left my brain. keep losing count anyway. I can't remember the word I was going to say, but I kept losing count of where I was. So at least when I have the stitch markers down the side, I can see which row I'm on. So I know when I'm on an increase row, and I just have to count these to work out how many stitches I have, rather than to count all of the V stitches along the top. Because V stitches in lace weight yarn in this colour is very tricky to follow. Very, very tricky. Okay. Right, that's that project. So let's show you my knitting. Oh, here's my advent shawl. I've been working on this. I am almost down to the last 2 minis. So you would have, some of you might have seen I did a little attempt at a tutorial last Friday. Was it last Friday? Yes, it was last Friday, to show you just how I do a yarn cake. So this is like a magic knot ball. So I've just gone from, so the last mini that I opened in the advent is the centre one, and I had 3 minis to cake up, and I've caked all 3 of them up there, and I don't have a huge amount left to use on the current mini. This will maybe not get much work on it over the weekend, even though it is an advent project. It's my current project. Let's make sure I'm showing it the right way around. So here it is. It's absolutely gorgeous. Although I do wish that the colours sort of went into them, so there's more of a natural progression in the colours. So we've gone from this beautiful sort of yellowy reds and oranges, and then there was a point where I thought, oh, maybe I've got the colours mixed up when we go into this one with the really big deep greens on it, and then we go into sort of this one, and then we've got all these pinks, and then we've got this really blue one. The last couple do seem to sort of go into each other, so I can't help wondering if maybe some of the colours were mixed up. Either I mixed them up or they ended up in the wrong order in the envelopes. I love the colours. I really love the yarn, and I will be getting, I've said before, I will be most likely to be getting the Rosie's Moment Advent again if they do one, unless my head gets turned by anyone else that does one that I like the look of. But this is lovely. Although I will, in my next advent, I'm going to try and find a crochet project to use. So there's that. So this is going to be such a tiny short episode. I'm just what shall I show next? Actually, let me talk about my new start. Now I can't show you, well, I've only done the first row of my new start, so it wouldn't give anything away actually if I did show it. Where is it? Oh, I couldn't kill Emily. I put things on the side. So I have signed up to be a pattern tester for she's a fairly local designer to me actually. I didn't realise how local she was. So it's LME Designs, and she's based in Hinckley, and she put out a testicle, and I thought, oh, I like the look of that. So I've put my name forward and I've been accepted. So it's my first ever pattern test, and it's for a lovely scarf. So when I can show you, I will show you, but I will show you the yarn that I've chosen to do it in. So it's in DK weight yarn, and I wanted to make sure that I chose a colour that had enough to make it long enough. Now, at the moment there's no amounts on the pattern, but I did send her an email and she said the yarn that she particularly used, she used around 400 meters. So I've thought, well, if I make sure I have 2 balls, I can just keep going until it's long enough. So I've chosen my So Crafty in the Plum. This is an Aldi yarn, which we all know I like the Aldi yarn. I try not to buy too much of it now because I went through a stage where I'd buy a pack of every colour, and I'd end up with just bags and bags and bags of yarn and nowhere to put it. So I am going to be doing it. So as sneak peek, that's as far as I got. I got the first row done. So yeah, so once that pattern has been released, I will be able to show you the actual project, but I do have a deadline on that one, so I'm going to have to try and split my time between my project of that day and this to get it done in time. I may even try and just focus on this for maybe the weekend, get a good set of progress done for it. So I've got a couple of weeks. I can do it. I just have to make sure I keep the focus and work on it as much as I can, but I don't want to have to sort of let my other whips fall behind because of that. But I'll do my best. I've promised to get to the deadline. I will get to the deadline. So yeah, so that's that. Let's show my cross stitch progress, because I am almost at the halfway point on the page of the pattern. So I'm on page 12 of how many pages is it? 20. So I've got about 8 pages left to do after this one. So this is what the finished design will look like. Excuse all my scribbles. And I am on this section here where you've got, oh, wrong way. So you've got this sort of smocked front and to the front of her dress. The next page I'm gonna guess is gonna be hell on earth. It's all the light colours, the greys and things. But yes, so let's take it off the frame so you can see. Right, okay, so it will be creased because it's been sat on my hoop for a couple of weeks. Because I've had 2 days of cross stitch this week, I've not really taken it off the hoop as much this week. But here is my progress on the whole project. So as you can see here, I've got quite a lot of that dress done now. So I've got just the bottom part of the dress and some of the foot to do, I think. There's the picture. Yes, so I've sort of down to about there on the page, and then I've got all this bit to do here. So that shouldn't take huge amounts of time because it is filling up quite quickly as I go. I do really love cross stitch. It's just this one feels like it's taking a long time. I've worked out that I should get this done by the end of the year if I continue with my day and making sure that I work on it on the days that I'm supposed to be working on it. So I do a day of cross stitch in between, swapping between knitting and crochet, and so far that's working for me. Whether or not I choose to give it a little bit more focus later on in the year, I don't know. There's always that chance that could happen. Oh, in case anyone's wondering who knows cross stitch, I always see this on FlossTube videos. I watch a couple of them, not lots of FlossTube. Most of the things I watch are knitting and crochet related. But this is on 25 count, don't ask me the kind of fabric it is, and I'm stitching full crosses, so I'm doing the full X, and it's one thread over one square, on the fabric, just in case anybody asks. I hadn't worked on cross stitch for quite some time, and it is something I enjoy going back to. So, but the next project I do will not be as big as this, so hopefully it won't take so long. I'd like to see a few more finishes, but there are some of these Heaven and Earth designs that I really do want to get round to working on. I've bought quite a lot of patterns during the years where I did a lot of cross stitch. I used to work on cross stitch all the time, because I've only been crocheting for how many years now? About 5 years? 5 or 6 years? So I'm fairly new to crochet, although I find that my confidence and my abilities are stronger in crochet than they are with knitting. So up until just, oh, how long have I been doing my podcast? Maybe a couple of years, 2 or 3 years ago, I hadn't really put much thought into knitting. So anything I did knit was a very basic pattern. I had never knitted anything in the round, nothing on a weight smaller or even greater than double knit. Double knit was just the yarn I used all the time for everything. But now I experiment, so obviously I've got lace weight project on the go. I have done chunky weights, some chunky cardigans down here. I was wearing that the other evening when it was really chilly in here. So I'm experimenting with my fibres as well. It's not just all the cheapest acrylic I could find. I used to love finding a ball of wool for £1. I still enjoy finding a ball, well, it's not wool, I used to call it wool, ball of yarn. I used to love finding a ball of yarn for £1. But it was always the really cheap, not very nice acrylic. I still use a lot of acrylic because at the end of the day I have kids that I knit and crochet for, and for the amount of times things need to go through the washing machine, acrylic is the best thing for that. But I've been getting better quality acrylic, so I haven't shied away from spending £4, £5 or even more pounds on an acrylic yarn, as long as the quality is what I would expect for that price. I'm not a yarn snob by any stretch of the imagination. I still buy my Aldi acrylic yarns when they're there, when they have them in stock and they have colours that I'm attracted to. Like I said, I no longer just go in and buy 7 or 8 packs. I will buy 2 or 3 packs depending on my colour. I still use their Aran is lovely, and their Aran actually has 20% wool in. But yes, I'm trying to be more experimental with my fibres, although I hate mohair with a passion. Any of those like really fluffy yarns, like alpaca, makes me itch. I can't work with alpaca, even though some of the alpaca yarns I felt has been so soft. The minute I give it a scrunch, I'm like, ooh, and then I get tingling in my fingers, so I daren't even try working with it. If I try crafting with it. Oh, I'm going off on a massive tangent, aren't I? Can't you tell I'm trying to fill time? This is going to be a really quick and easy one to edit. Yeah, so now it's just some incoming, and it's not lots and lots of incoming. So I subscribe to Andy of Attic Spin Dye. He has 2 subscriptions going, although one's a brand new subscription, just started. So when one finishes, he'll start a new one. It's like, oh yeah, no, I will do it. Just, Andy, here's my card. Just here's my salary. You just have my money. So I received my subscription this week. Now let's try and work out which bag goes with which yarn. Right, okay, so the first subscription I'm going to show you is the Beatrix Potter. This is a lovely subscription based on the Beatrix Potter stories. This month's inspiration is Jeremy Fisher. So we've got a little progress keeper or stitch marker there of a frog. He's so cute. I love these. I think they're fantastic. They're great for things like on my Metamorphosis. I haven't even poured myself a drink yet. They're great for just those keeping a track. I haven't actually read the writing on here, but I love the images that you sometimes get with these. And get a mini. I love this colour. Catherine quite enjoys this, likes this colour. She loves looking at the minis, and she hasn't picked up her knitting needles yet, but she keeps making noises about wanting to find a project to work on. But she's very uncooperative whenever I make any suggestions. Okay, so we always get a themed lavender pouch. So I've got loads of these now, and they're so handy. I have them. I just love the smell of lavender to start with, but I do just sort of pop them. So my bag of commercial sock yarns has got a couple of these in. My boxes of hand dyed yarn upstairs have got a couple in. I've got a couple of bags where with yarn that wouldn't fit in my boxes that need. It's supposed to keep the moths away, and it makes the yarn smell nice. Although the yarn smells nice all the time anyway. I like yarn that smells a bit sheepy. And I also got a bookmark, which is very, very cute. So I love these subscriptions. They're about £18, and you get 100 grams of yarn of your weight, your choice in weight, and there's always a few little extras, and I think that just really makes it. So here is the yarn. So this month it's 2 50-gram yarns, 50-gram skeins. I think those colours are beautiful. So I need to work out what I'm making with these. Although 50 grams would make a pair of socks for Emily. I could see if she wants to have one of these as socks. I think she'd probably go for this one. I might ask her tomorrow and see if she wants some of that and get it caked up. Because I have so much of this yarn. Because I've been getting both, whatever the subscriptions are. So there's been a bird of the month. I've had all of those now because they sent me the robin. Was it as a birthday present? Yeah, I think the robin was sent as a birthday present. So I have the full set of those. I have the full set of the Beatrix Potter ones. And now obviously I'm working on these ones and the new one, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So yeah, so this, I always go for the fingering weight because if I get really, really stuck, I can just bang out a pair of socks. If I get really, really stuck. I would like to try and find a pattern that I could put a few of them, try and find some colours that go nicely together and put a few of them in as into a jumper or cardigan. I love cardigans, but I don't have very many of them. So but yeah, so that's that one. This one is, oh, what's it called? Is it the whimsical? I can't remember now, but they're sort of like fairy type themes. And this one is, the first one is Cupid. So here's the card that comes with it, and a gorgeous little stitch marker progress keeper with a little love letter in it. That's very cute. So, and I believe the image are where the inspirations for the colours that are in the yarn. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andy and Angela. I could be completely wrong. Okay, so again, another pouch. So there's that image that was on the card there, on the pouch. So Andy does print on fabrics too, and he's got some beautiful bags that he's got in his shop, and I think he's got some mugs as well. So I have yet to buy myself a mug. Maybe on the next one. Maybe when I get my bonus at work, sometime around April time, I'll treat myself. So there's another mini, and I can't remember. Do you think it's the same? I never actually compared them. They're kind of the same. Similar. I don't know if they could be the same colours. It's hard to tell for me. I think there's slightly more pinks in one and purples in the other. But I could possibly put those together and make that a 20-gram mini. Who knows? And there was chocolate, but that didn't last very long. And they had popped extra chocolates in there for the girls because they spoil my two with sweeties. And now for the yarn, which is very beautiful. Not that it's ever anything else really. So this is the Cupid yarn. I love this so much. I keep saying that these colours need to be hats or scarves, and I never get around to making them. I have on my Readly app, because I have access to back issues for some of the magazines. I have been going through some of the earlier magazines and trying to find fingering weight projects that I can use things for. There is a really cute crocheted handbag that Catherine wants me to make for her in, is it the latest issue of Simply Crochet? I think it might be the latest issue of Simply Crochet, but yes, so that's all good. That will use apparently a skein of yarn. I'll probably end up with some left over, but that can just go into one of my scrappy blankets. So there's this. Anyway, here it is. I would really like to try a crocheted scrappy blanket. The only ideas I can come up with are granny square or granny stripes, and I'm not a big fan of the granny stitch. I do occasionally enjoy doing the granny stitch. It's just I do sometimes find it a little monotonous and I would like to have something that was a little bit different, but I'm not sure what. It would be nice to have because I've got my cozy memories blanket, coziest memories blanket that I'm doing, that's designed by Kemper Ray. So that has all my 10-gram minis go into that. So it would be nice to have something similar but as crochet. I know you can do crocheted mitered squares. Could I maybe do that? I don't know. Answers on a postcard or below in the comments. Okay, so I've dropped my tissue paper for that down there, so I'll pop that down there on top of the tissue paper. So that's everything I've got to show. It's well, I think this is probably longer than it would have been because I went off on a tangent, but it's definitely time for me to go and pour myself that double of a gin and tonic that I've been promising myself all afternoon at work, because I've been so blooming busy today. So yeah, so I think I'm going to end it there. I am going to get myself that drink I've promised myself, and I'm going to sit and write out the pattern that I've downloaded from LME Designs, and then I'm going to sit and work on that for a little bit, see how far I get tonight, and then maybe work on it a little bit tomorrow and on Sunday too, and hopefully get a pair of socks on the needles again for my out and about project, because it's warm enough at the moment to be knitting outside. I haven't got to worry about my gloves, so that's what I do. Or last Saturday afternoon when we were at IKEA, I was walking around IKEA knitting. Standing in the queue for our IKEA meatballs lunch, I was knitting. So I got lots done. I think I got all the way down to the heel flap. I think it was just the heel turn that I didn't want to do because I was in the car and we were almost home anyway, so I didn't want to be halfway through a heel turn coming out of the car into the house. I think that's why. Anyway, so I'll have a new start on the needles for next week. Not next week, no, in the next 2 weeks. I have been toying with the idea of some tutorials. I'm still trying to work out how that setup would work with my camera and how I would do it. So if you have any suggestions, anything you'd like me to have a go at, have a bash at seeing if I can help somebody. I can't do patterns because I'm not a designer, and it might take I don't think designers want me to be going through their patterns on through a tutorial, but certainly if there are stitches or techniques you would like ideas for, I'm open to the idea of attempting to do a video tutorial. Just putting that out there. Anyway, so have a lovely couple of weeks. I hope you get lots of crafting done. I hope I get lots of crafting done, and I shall see you again soon, and goodbye.